Hey there, restaurant pros. It's David Scott Peters, and welcome to the Restaurant Prosperity Formula podcast. For over 2 decades, I've been guiding restaurant owners to success with the proven principles of something I call the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. I originally created the formula based on the daily practices of the most successful restaurateurs I coached, and it's now the foundation of what I teach restaurant owners like you so you can achieve success. What do I mean by success? Success is a restaurant owner who dictates the terms of their life and their bank account instead of their restaurants dictating those things for them. Success is a restaurant owner who has the freedom from the restaurant and the financial freedom they never thought possible. How you define success is up to you, but I do know the way to achieving it is using the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. This season, I'm diving even deeper into the core elements of the formula: leadership, systems, training, accountability, and taking action. Along with my insights, you'll hear from special guests, industry experts, and inspiring success stories from fellow restaurant owners who've turned their businesses around and found their definition of success. In this episode, number 121, we're tackling something that challenges every restaurant owner: how to stop your managers from bringing you every little problem. Let's get started. But first, a word from our sponsor. We all know managing costs is one of the most important parts of running a profitable restaurant, especially now. But between fluctuating vendor prices, waste, labor, and the never-ending list of tasks that demand your attention on a daily basis, it can be challenging for even the most experienced of us to manage costs well. That's where Margin Edge comes in. Margin Edge is a complete restaurant management software that automatically uses data from your POS and invoices to show you food and labor costs in real time. Don't wait until it's too late. Margin Edge gives you tools to make decisions in the moment, like a daily P&L, price alerts on key ingredients, and real-time plate costs, all without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. Take control of your costs, work more efficiently, and be more profitable. Go to www.marginedge.com/DSP to learn more and schedule your demo today. Restaurant pros, tell me if this sounds familiar. You finally sit down to work on something important. Maybe you're reviewing your numbers, planning your marketing, or figuring out ways to cut costs. And then, here it comes. Your manager knocks on the door. Hey boss, we ran out of chicken. What do you want me to do? Hey, the fryer's acting up. What should we do? Hey, a customer is complaining about their steak. How do you want me to handle it? And you're like, you gotta be kidding me. You throw down your pen, you stop what you're doing, you get up, and you fix the problem. It's like they can't make a decision without you. And at first, maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's just a quick answer, right? But let's do some quick math. If a manager asks you 10 questions in a shift, and is that really unreasonable? 10 questions. And it takes you 2 minutes to answer each question, right? That's not so long, 2 minutes. That's 20 minutes of your day gone. Now let's multiply that by 5 days a week, assuming you've got 2 days off. That's 100 minutes lost. 100 minutes. Over a month, that's 6 to 7 hours of wasted time just answering questions they could solve on their own. Doesn't that sound crazy? In fact, I'm sure it frustrates you when you start thinking about all the questions you answer. Forget about knocking on your door. How about when they call you when you're at home, when you're out with friends and family, and you get up from the table, say, excuse me, I've got to take this call. You go outside, you thought you'd be 5 minutes, 30 minutes later, you come in, and all the people you're with have finished their meals looking at you. What happened? You're never present. Whether it's working on things you want to work on, or it's being present with family and friends, the reality is you let these little 2-minute interruptions that sometimes become 30 minutes, an hour, steal from your day, steal from your time. And these are things that they should be able to answer on their own. And think about it, over a year, you're losing 80 hours plus, 80 plus hours to these unnecessary interruptions. That's huge. That's 2 full weeks of wasted time. Wasted time your managers, could have given you back, but took away from you because they don't know how to make a decision. But here's the thing. It's not their fault. It's yours. Now, before you get mad at me because I've said that, hear me out. The way you respond to their questions, the way you've trained them to think, It's keeping them dependent on you. And today, we're going to fix that. We are going to fix that. Before we fix the issue, we need to understand why it's happening. There are 3 big reasons your managers are coming to you for every decision. Number 1, you've trained them to depend on you. If every time a manager asks a question, you immediately give them an answer, you're reinforcing a bad habit. Think about it like a kid asking their parents for help with their homework. If you give them the answer instead of teaching them how to figure it out on their own, right? They'll always come to you. The same happens in your restaurant. If your kitchen manager asks you, what do we do if we're running low on a key ingredient? Like, really? And you always tell them the answer, they'll never think ahead. If your front of house manager asks, how should we handle this angry guest? And you step in every time, they won't build problem-solving skills. If you always provide the answer, why would they try to figure it out themselves? Number 2, they're afraid of making a mistake. A lot of managers, they don't make decisions. And they don't make decisions because they're scared of getting it wrong. Maybe it's in a past job. They got chewed out for making a mistake. Maybe they worked for a boss who micromanaged everything and punished people for trying to be proactive. So now they play it safe. And it makes sense. If they don't make a decision, they can't be wrong. And if they can't be wrong, they can't get in trouble. You see how that logic flows? Here's a reality check. Maybe this person who made them afraid is you. And this could be as simple as when they come to you with their own solution, you said wrong, and you told them exactly what to do. I can tell you that one of my very best members, who's also a member mentor for me, Avery, he at one point in time was on vacation. There was an employee issue. A manager asked him the question, or really just let him know, and he got fired up and get rid of the person. And they did. And when he came home from vacation, all of a sudden he was getting a bunch of questions over and over again. And he realized that they could have handled the situation. He failed to listen or wait and ask them what they would do. He immediately fired off the answer, which was against what they thought should be done. So they learned very quickly, don't make a decision. Wait for the real answer. I don't want to get in trouble. And this is one of my very best people, which means we all have a tendency to want to answer a question because we know the answer, but that doesn't serve anyone. Number 3, they were never trained to think like an owner. Most restaurant managers were promoted from within. They're great at doing the work, running shifts, handling customers, making schedules, but no one ever trained them how to think critically about business decisions. And if you want managers to think like owners, you have to teach, listen to me, you have to teach them how to make decisions. And that's where we're going to go next. So how do we stop? Literally stop this cycle and get managers to start solving their own problems? Stop answering their questions. It seems pretty simple, right? Let's walk through the steps. Step 1, make them think first. Next time a manager comes to you with a problem, say, what do you think we should do? Or maybe you should ask, if I wasn't here, how would you handle this? Or how about, what are your options? See, one of the things that I like to teach my managers is that I have an open door policy. Yes, come to me. But don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with a solution. See, I'd rather them come in the door with 3 solutions that I can pick from one. So instead of they come in and say, hey, the broadline distributor didn't drop off steaks for the party tonight. What would you like me to do? And I throw down my pencil and get up and start to do the things, start searching, making phone calls. Like I'd handle it. I take care of it. Like you're asking me to handle it. So I'm going to do so. And then I get upset that they stole my time. Instead, their job is to walk through my door with 3 solutions. They should show up and go, hey, our broadline distributor didn't show up with the steaks we need for tonight's party. I have 3 options. 1, I could go across the street to the grocery store and buy steaks. They're probably going to be about $1 more a pound based on what I saw online. I could get our broadline distributor. I could go there, get the steaks, but by the time I'm done, that's about a 3-hour turnaround, and we've got to start prepping for the party. I could have our secondary vendor bring steaks. They're going to be about 50 cents more a pound. No big deal, but they won't be here till 4 and the party's at 5. So I'm going to suggest I go across the street and buy steaks. What would you like me to do? Right? You'd be amazed. You'd be like, holy cow, you got to be kidding me. I get to pick. I love your answer. I like option number 3. Or I've got a new thing. Hey, have you looked at XYZ? And what a difference it is when they come through the door with 3 solutions instead of a problem. Now, don't get me wrong. We're going to talk about responsibility and authority here in a second, but the reality is, if the air conditioner falls through the roof, they're coming to you. We'll talk about that in a moment. So do know when you ask them these questions, things like, what are your options? At first, they hesitate. They might even say, I don't know. Remember that fear part? But don't cave. Push them to think. Now, here's a pro tip. One of my past members, Dan Carr, I worked on core values with he and Candy Meacham. Partners in the business, partners in life, and just have an incredible business. I should say businesses. But at the time, they were working their way out of the day-to-day. And as we're working on the core values, doing these things, they see the importance. How are we going to use these? Well, I left their place, came back to my office. A couple weeks later, I get a call from Dan. And Dan says, remember those core values? Yeah. I helped write them. I helped work on them with you. He says, I did the most amazing thing. I had a manager come to me and ask one of those questions, right? We want to say dumb questions, but a question. And instead of answering for them, I said, what would you do based on our core values? How would you handle it? Based on our core values, how would you handle it? I'm going to talk about core values again. These are our guiding principles, who we are as a person, that often never change, but how we want our employees, our team members, our managers to make decisions in our business. Because if they align with our core values, they shouldn't ever be scolded. They may be coached. But the fact of the matter is that they align with where we're going, and I'm going to add something to that in just a moment. The reality is, core values help them make that decision. So on a side note, if you do not have your core values documented, we need to get that done so that you can use them as a training tool to help your managers make decisions that would align with what you want done. Step 2 is teach them how to evaluate a situation. Yeah, teach them. Once they give an answer, go deeper. Questions like, what are the pros and cons of that solution? Getting them to think about what the good side is, the bad side, maybe each one of those solutions if they had 3 coming through the door. This way they can pick. What's the long-term impact? Thinking further than what is convenient right now. What is the right decision for the company moving forward, not just in the moment? How does this affect the team? And that's really important, right? We've got to make sure the decisions we make in management, well, they affect everybody in the business. When you do this consistently, your managers will start thinking through, well, their decisions before they come to you. And isn't that what we want? If you want managers to stop running to you for every little thing, you need to be clear about decision-making authority, right? What can they do? Now, here's a pro tip. I want to be very clear about the difference between responsibility and authority. Remember I said come back to this. There is one thing to have a responsibility to do something. Let's say you have a responsibility to hire employees. You have a responsibility to run shifts. but you don't have the authority to write them up. You don't have the authority to hold them accountable. You don't have the authority to fire them. Well, then I don't have any authority to do my job. I'm really babysitting the employees. Having responsibility is very different from having the authority to do my job. So as we define these questions and these levels of what they can and cannot do, we need to understand what's the responsibility and do they have the authority to execute that responsibility. So think about that as a leader with your team. Here's how you structure it. We're going to start with tier 1. These are decisions they can make without you. Tier 1, again, decisions they can make without you. Anything under $50, handle it. Like, do I really need to be called up? I need to buy a ream of paper. Like, I don't need to be involved in that kind of decision. Can I buy the paper? No, go buy the paper. Right? We know that is not something that is going to grossly impact the business in a negative way. Go buy the paper. You don't need to ask me for permission. How about scheduling conflicts? Figure it out before coming to me. As the owner, I don't want to hear that Sally has a scheduling conflict. I don't want to hear that Jose can't make it in because you screwed up when they requested the day off. I don't need to hear these things. I don't need to solve these things. These are things that I have you as a manager to figure out. How about guest complaints? Hey, follow the company policy. You mapped out your standard operating procedures, your SOPs. You should. And you should be documenting what is our comping policy. So I can make the decision on my own. I don't need you. So those are things that you want to list out that I can do on my own. There's the tier 2 decisions. These are decisions where, well, they got to check with you first. So it doesn't mean they can't do it, but you want to be in the know before it happens, right? You're trying to protect the company. You're trying to protect the manager. You're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect the customer in certain situations. So tier 2 are decisions where they need to check with you first. How about equipment issues? Let me know before you spend any money on repairs, because you and I know that all too often managers can be quick to calling out a repair person. And we've got a trip charge. And then it could be as simple as how many times has it been going to the breaker and just flipping the breaker and you got charged to have somebody come out and do something as simple as that. On a side note, it's really important that you have managers stand over the shoulder of any repair person that comes out when they're diagnosing the issue. And maybe if it's something simple, stay with them to learn how to fix it themselves going forward. And that becomes a part of your standard operating procedures, that you know when these lights go out, I don't need an electrician. I need to go to the breakers and flip the switch. And before you think that's common sense, how many of your 21-year-old and younger managers have ever had to flip a breaker? We need to teach. How about major guest complaints? That may be as simple as just keep me informed, right? Check with me, but just keep me informed. Employee performance issues. Let's discuss these together, right? You're listing out those things that you would like them to check in with you. There are tier 3 decisions. These are the big picture decisions that require you. These are the ones bother me. These are the ones come find me. These are the ones that are out of your authority to make that decision. Any policy changes. We're going to change our tipping policy. We're going to change our comping policy, our day off policy, our vacation policy, right? We're going to change any policies. You want to be in charge of that. Meaning you want to make sure that any decisions they make are, well, legal, fit your core values, match what you want to do, because it is your business. Big picture things like big major purchases. Like you just can't go out and buy a new bank of fryers. It's got to fit within budget. These are things I need to be in control of. You can bring me the solution, but ultimately that major purchase, I've got to make that decision, because I know what my finances are like. Decisions like terminating an employee. Now, again, I may have the responsibility to manage employees as a manager, and I may have the authority to fire them, but it doesn't change the fact that I may want to make sure I hear that we have dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. Because what if it's a harassment issue? What if it's an an issue based on age discrimination? What if it's an issue based on the Pregnancy Act? What if it's an ADA issue? Right? I need to make sure that I protect everyone involved. That needs to come through me. I'll let them make the decision, but they can't execute that decision without checking in with me. By setting these clear boundaries, your managers will stop second guessing themselves. They'll stop second guessing what they can and cannot do because you're adding clarity to their decision-making toolbox, if you will. Now, here's a pro tip. In past podcast episodes, you probably remember me talking about two very important topics. I kind of went into them a moment ago. One, the importance of sharing your why, and two, the importance of sharing your core values. Your why is why you opened your business, why you do what you do. This is incredibly important. You want to share your why with anyone who'll listen on a daily basis. And if you're not, we're missing the boat. I want to share my why with all of my team members, my managers especially, but my employees or team members as well. Why? Because they need to know why we're doing what we're doing. It's the guiding light that steers our company. I want my customers to know why we do what we do so they can buy in and I can manage their expectations of what we should be delivering. And when all my team members know that's what we're supposed to be delivering, we're all on the same page. I need to deliver my why to my vendors so that they know what we're trying to accomplish, that maybe I want nothing but the freshest ingredients, and I've got my vendors, broadline distributors coming in and going, we just got in a shipment of the freshest XYZ from a local farmer, knowing full well it aligns with what we're trying to do. The second piece is those core values again. Who we are as a person, almost never change. These are things like honesty. These are things like hospitality, cleanliness, like there's a whole list of words we can go down. These are who you are as a person. How do you know if it's a core value? When somebody makes a mistake, goes against that core value, you literally lose your shit. That's when you blow up. Like if great hospitality is part of your core values, and somebody provides the most horrendous guest experience, you blow up. So we know what our core values are, and generally speaking, I like anywhere from 1 to 3 core values, 5 on the long side, but I've got members who have 7, 9. Some people write a story. It doesn't matter how you deliver them. They need to be documented and shared with everyone. Again, if I know what your core values are, I can make decisions based on those. I add the why. All of a sudden, every decision your managers make will be congruent with your why and your core values. They will never be in trouble. They still may make a mistake, but that now becomes a coaching opportunity. Hey, you should have done this. I'd like you to think about this versus why did you make that decision? And losing it. So do know that those two things are extremely important in your business. So here's my challenge for you, Restaurant Pro. For the next week, commit to not answering your manager's questions. You heard me right. Don't answer their questions. Instead, make them think. Make them evaluate their options. Make them take ownership of decisions. And I guarantee you'll see a shift, a true shift in your team and what they're doing and how often they bother you or interrupt you, I should say. Look, if this episode resonated with you, let me know. Also, subscribe to the podcast and share this with another restaurant pro who really needs to hear the message. Until next time, take action and start building the restaurant and the life you deserve. Ready to take the next step towards achieving restaurant prosperity, freedom from the daily grind, and the financial success you deserve? Book a discovery call with Ryan James to learn about our group coaching program. Ryan will guide you through how our program can transform your restaurant and help you achieve the prosperity and freedom you've been striving for. Click the link in the description below or visit dsp.coach/talk-to-Ryan to schedule your call now.